If you know the old Hawaiian legend, and you had seen one of these birds flying inland a couple of weeks ago, you may have believed a bad storm was coming. For in Hawaiian folklore, the Ewa bird over land is a sign that a bad storm is approaching. But for the rest of us in Hawaii, we had little advance warning of Hurricane Ewa. The first public notice by the Weather Service came at 5 o'clock Monday afternoon, November 22nd. By midday of Tuesday, the 23rd, the wrath of Ewa was upon us. But so was the spirit of the Hawaiian people, the spirit of aloha with which we met the storm and its aftermath was with us from the very first moments.
Everybody is pitched in together here. I can't say enough. You've probably heard it said in the last few years that the aloha spirit in Hawaii is dying or it's very sick. That's not true on Kauai.
There was 3 or 4 policemen, and one of the cars over here, I think it's Scottish.
They took it, huh? They took it.
They took it?
Yeah.
Okay. But when they came, they say, people better get out. And how many? So it was 3 of us. One of them carried my wife, and my daughter held hands with one, and I held hands with the other one.
Oh, and they looked. She started to cry, but I said, no, don't cry. We are alive. And she said, well, that's what we're going to be thankful for.
A friend of ours, they have some electricity that's been going off and on, so in between everything, they cooked some stuff and brought it over for us. So we're fine. We've got beautiful fans.
We opened up about Thursday of last week. We had a lot of North Shore people coming in to the restaurant and talking to us by phone. And it felt a little awkward, so we felt that we could do something for North Shore people who usually come to our place when everything's fine. Therefore, we decided to come out here and serve a free hot meal.
We had advertised on the radio and on TV free chicken, so people from the whole Waianae area came down, and in a day it was all gone, 40,000.
I know a lot of people on the outside islands are wondering how we're faring, but we are really A-OK.
We're here to provide starting power for one of the generating plants on the island of Kauai.
Everybody on the island has been wonderful, especially to the tourists, and I think you should make that clear. The people here are very generous.
We don't have any electricity, but we have water. Yeah.
Everybody's trying to pull together. As long as you keep your aloha, you'll keep your smiling face.
But all the aloha and cooperation could not stop the force of the winds that began about midday on Tuesday and rapidly worsened.
The eye of the hurricane is now 82 miles from Kokee, Kauai. The eye of the hurricane is now 82 miles from Kokee, Kauai. There have been reports of some roof loss. That is our latest bulletin. We ask everyone to button down and to stay indoors. Indoors. This is Kauai Civil Defense.
If it's going to evacuate immediately, it's instructed to do so. Have your automobile gas tank filled up, battery-powered radios and flashlights, and make sure you have some food.
Big rocks right in front of our condominium that started coming through the apartment into the parking lot, and most of the cars in the parking lot onto the road and into the next condominium lot, and most of the units there was all damaged. I don't know, I was just going crazy.
And everybody asked to please stay off the highways. The police has blocked all roads. There is a lot of bushes, a lot of trees have been uprooted across the highways. They have blocked the roads all the way down the line, even though the Harley River is not totally unpassable.
The wind was blowing very hard. We were
inside. We were watching the wind outside. It was
holding
blowing.
each other.
It was just blowing up, and we were watching it out there and quite concerned about it. Then they kept getting worse and worse and worse. And then all of a sudden, a big crash and all. The noise, I thought it was lightning and thunder. And she looked, oh, honey, the roof's gone. And
pretty bad. The water was just rushing all over the rocks and then going onto the road. Telephone poles falling down. You know, really windy, windows breaking, all kinds.
Meanwhile, strong winds had hit Oahu also. The more fragile buildings at the airport had begun to blow away at mid-afternoon. The windward side was already losing windows, roofs, and lots of tree branches. And the people of the leeward coast were beginning to evacuate as the water and winds became treacherous.
They had water over the highway, a number of sand blocking all 4 lanes, parts of the highway from Miley Point up to Waianae in various parts. And as you can see, just general high surf kind of problems and high wind. A lot of power outages, a lot of debris. There's been some problem with getting rescue crews going through Waianae. As a result, there are special road crews going out there now to try to clear some of the debris away so we can get the rescue crews in and out.
I was going to go pick her up, and they said I couldn't. You know, that everything's blocked off and the wires are down and everything, so we just can't go get her.
Come here. We're neighbors, that's why, and over there it's terrible. We had to get out of the house.
What was happening?
I don't know. The lights went out, and they said the poles, you know, the light poles was all falling all down, and the water was getting terrible. So, and it started raining, and we just was all scared, so we packed up and we came up here.
We live right next to the beach. And the way it came up, the boulders of coral got that big, so we got scared. We came up here.
Is your house okay?
Oh, yeah, when we left, it was all right. I don't know now.
In the Waikiki area has been that surf has been up on Kalia Road and Port Tarusi area. This was reported by the Honolulu Police Department about 7:45. Just general traffic problems, signal lights being out, that type of thing.
Get off the pier already.
I'm over here.
But although Oahu was suffering, it was clear even that Tuesday night that Kauai was getting the brunt of Iva.
Houses, hotels, everything. Everything's gone.
Everything's gone.
Everything's gone.
Aerial view gave the best look at the staggering damage over all Kauai and Oahu. And down on the ground, our reporters and cameramen were getting close-up views of the hardest hit areas.
It was sunny on Kauai today, but that only illuminated the awesome destruction of Hurricane Iva. It plowed through the Garden Island yesterday, spewing everything in its path and transforming Kauai into a massive junkyard. Almost incredibly, there were no confirmed reports of any fatalities or even serious injuries here.
But in terms of property damage, it was the worst storm in Kauai's history. Longtime Kauai residents say Iva is worse than Hurricane Dot, which devastated Kauai in 1959. Damage will be in the multi-millions. One of the hardest hit communities was Poipu. That is the site of a luxury development which was built amidst opposition from a sizable Kauai group in the 1970s. Heavy winds and huge waves destroyed the 170-room Sheraton at Poipu.
It was about 25 or 30 feet waves that came into the building. And just lifted the building and the whole thing right up. And the second wave came from the other side. And then just crumbled the building right down.
Well, it's really far worse than I thought. We were getting reports that the older section over by the water had been pretty well wiped out, and it is definitely wiped out. It can't be rebuilt. That's a multi-million-dollar project over there. And there's much more damage in the new section than I had hoped.
Holden told Channel 2 News late this afternoon that damages to the hotel complex alone are in excess of $10 million. Other areas badly hit included Lehui, which saw several light planes destroyed. These are luxury condominiums which were located above the Kauai Surf Hotel. Rather, this is what's left of them. The winds ripped apart most of the 25 buildings. I was told some of these units sell for $300,000. Is that true?
We have had several in the paper upwards to $300,000.
At Nawiliwili Harbor, the hurricane sank an estimated 20 boats, including the Coast Guard's rescue vessel. At the pier, mats and containers piled up like dominoes.
We were on the boat, then when the gust of wind came, all we seen was this container just sailing in the air like a kite. And it almost hit a truck that was going by. I don't know if the truck seen the container or not, but God, they just missed it. Otherwise, that guy would have just quashed.
Schools were also heavily damaged.
The classrooms have been devastated. Roofs have been ripped off. The damage is very extensive, as you'll see if you take a tour through this campus. And we were working on beautification.
In the words of one Kauai resident, Hurricane Eva massacred the Garden Island. It will be weeks, months, and even longer before Kauai will be able to dig itself out of this mess. But besides the awesome power of the hurricane, Kauai residents and visitors alike are marveling at the lack of a death toll or even a serious injury toll as a result of the hurricane. In the words of one resident, that in itself is enough to give thanks on this Thanksgiving Eve.
As dawn came over the leeward coast, the damage was everywhere. Cars lie tossed about like carelessly discarded toys.
A wave came over from the beach side and just picked us up and just swept us into here. We almost flipped over. We tried to get out of the car because the water was up to the doors, and I just happened to, I just used my strength and forced the door open, and we were lucky we got out and then just ran up to safety over here.
More than 50 utility poles are broken from the force of the wind and waves. By 7 this morning, the road was open, and the 600 leeward residents who spent the night in emergency shelters began returning home. Further up the Waianae coast, it looked like a battle zone. In Makaha, the toll became more evident.
The bottom half was blown out by the wave. My storage room, my laundry room, my garage area. Wiped everything out. My neighbor's house shifted. And, quite a lot of damage.
By the time we left here, the wave was, the water was going in about 3/4 of the yard already. So that's when we thought we might sort of get out.
What are you going to do now?
I don't know.
In the Makaha Shores condominium, residents say a 50-foot wave last night ripped apart a retaining wall, sending rocks and debris through the entire first floor. 12 apartments were demolished. The worst damage was a mile away along Macau Street. Here, every home along the ocean side of the street was damaged or destroyed. More than 30 houses lie scattered in pieces, some 100 feet from their foundations. As people picked through the rubble, they discovered their homes had been looted in the night. One police officer, exhausted from more than 30 hours of duty, blamed the governor for waiting too long to call in the National Guard. He says it then took the Guard an hour and a half to arrive. By then, he says, it was too late. Damage estimates have only begun. One rescue worker says it will be in the millions for this area alone, and it is a miracle that no one was seriously hurt. As people attempt to salvage what's left, most are also making plans for the future. Leeward Coast people are resilient. Most are saying they will return. They will rebuild their houses and their lives.
The damage in some areas of the windward side is awesome. Telephone and power poles are broken like matchsticks, lying in roads, on houses. Everywhere there is damage.
I'm just going to have to get a hold of the fire department and have them evacuate that section, over.
As you view the devastation, you can't help but marvel that no one was killed during this show of nature's strength. Many were injured. 70 went to Castle Hospital, victims of the powerful wind.
We've had a lady who was blown down the stairs by the wind. The wind was so rough. And we've had numerous lacerations and injuries.
I was talking to my grandfather, then one strong wind came and some bricks on the roof, and one just came down on my head.
Yet there is no sense here, anywhere on the windward side, of an overwhelming discouragement. There is cooperation and love. The grandchildren of Mr. and Mrs. George Kali'i flocked to Kaneohe this morning. Their grandmother was inside her house alone last night. Her husband was at work for Hawaiian Electric. Suddenly, the roof was torn off, came crashing back, and sent splinters through the walls.
I was on a phone, and I took off out of the door. I ran out of the door.
What happened? Did you just see it go, or did you hear it?
I heard the noise, the roof lifting up. I just ran out.
And next door, George Jr. and his wife lost the front off their house, and they don't even know it yet. They are, ironically, vacationing on Kauai. It may be weeks before a full dollar damage estimate is made, but the cost of replacing these houses is only the beginning. There's also the cost in manpower, in utility replacements, in business lost because of power and telephone service outages, in spoiled food. The list is nearly endless. But the people we met today seem undaunted. Mike Wilson, who was in his A-frame pole house when it collapsed, had a half-dozen friends help him clear the house of valuables by noontime today. People gathered to help everywhere, and over they talked about rebuilding. How long have you lived here?
About 36 years, I think now.
What are you going to do now?
Build up again, I guess.
And that is the part of this disaster that will make it, before long, a memory rather than a tragedy.
In Waikiki, the main problem was no electricity. Tourists spent most of their time last night in darkened lobbies.
We're here on our 50th anniversary, believe it or not. And this is the first time that we've really hit bad weather, let alone a hurricane.
According to preliminary checks by Oahu Civil Defense, the Kalia Road area of Waikiki appears to have suffered the most property damage in terms of money, although no dollar figure has been put to it yet.
It appears that the surf surge or storm surge from the surf has gone through the basements in this area. The storm drain system in this area was partially blocked by the sand coming in with the surf surge. The road crews worked last night to get this area. There was 3 feet of water on Kalia Road last night, and by this morning this water was all gone and the storm drain system was opened up.
The basement parking lot of the Cinerama Reef Hotel was flooded to the top by seawater. Several cars were ruined. The overflow also flooded the underground lots of a few other surrounding hotels. On the other end of Waikiki, homeowners at the end of Kalaukaua Avenue were cleaning up today. Waves crashed into the seawall there and into the houses.
About 8 o'clock, we were eating dinner in our living room and heard a loud bang, and in came the water. I would estimate the first break was about maybe 20 feet. Half hour later, we managed to escape out the back door with our wallets and clothes on our back, and by the time we got the back door, we waited here about 20 minutes to make sure everybody was okay.
Operations at the airport were almost back to normal today, according to officials. Quite a few of the light planes slipped over, and a DC-3 blew across a few runways before coming to rest.
Miraculously, only one person died during the hurricane. It happened just after the destroyer Goldsboro was evacuated from Pearl Harbor to ride out the storm at sea. A 30-foot wave crashed over the bow, killing 1 sailor and injuring 5 others, including 1 man who was washed overboard and swam 2 miles through the raging surf to shore. A tragic footnote to the storm happened at Schofield Barracks the day after Thanksgiving. A soldier helping in the massive cleanup effort died when the load shifted on a truck carrying debris. Besides these deaths and scattered injuries, Eva's toll was taken in property damage.
The near victim of the storm was the historic Falls of Clyde, but once again, the Aloha spirit came through.
I remember looking at my watch, and it was about 8 o'clock, and we'd lost all but one stern line, and things looked pretty bleak. They had told us that there weren't going to be any tugs.
The tugboats could take the Falls of Clyde out of her slip at Pier 5 and to safety deep inside Honolulu Harbor.
All of our stern lines had gone, and that was the only thing that was going to keep us from going into Nimitz Highway.
But the word was, no tugboats available. About that time, with Travers fearing the worst, 2 things happened almost simultaneously. First, a group of men led by the Honolulu harbor master visited Dillingham Tug and Barge. This was an emergency. The first of 3 tugboats was dispatched immediately. Second, not knowing a tug was on the way, a call went out on a local radio station for volunteers. The tugboat and the people arrived at about the same time.
We almost lost 2 coasties overboard, and we lost our whole gangplank. We're going to need all the help we can get. Yeah, I'm right here.
Unfortunately, there were a lot of people that were acting on their own. They weren't seeking supervision. At one time, when I was on the starboard side of the ship on Pier 4, trying to direct the tug and see, how we could best help them and so forth. When I walked around to Pier 5, I saw maybe 100 people having a tug-of-war with the rear end of the ship, with the stern of the ship, and they were pulling against the tug.
In spite of the chaos, the Falls of Clyde was saved. And for all the concern raised by the large number of people on the scene, Travers says their spirit can never be faulted.
They didn't seem to spare anything. Line was there, people were there were willing and ready hands were there. I was just very much touched and impressed by the community's turnout.
So now she sits at Pier 34, with only minor hull damage to show for a very harrowing night.
Turkey in the Weber. While many spent part or most of this day trying to clean up or moving refrigerators or freezers to where they could get power, nearly everyone had some kind of dinner in mind.
Well, I'm going to my daughter's and have Thanksgiving. They have a stove there.
I'm going over to my daughter's place.
She's got power?
No, but we're cooking out now with Kamado.
We're having turkey and we're having meat also. We just have to cook this meat so it doesn't rot on us.
Children will bring some turkey for us today.
And all are thankful on this day.
Everybody's safe. I'm thankful I'm alive.
We're thankful that we are alive today. That's our Thanksgiving.
What have you got to be thankful for?
Oh, we're still alive. We still got our health, and nobody's hurt. And we'll be all right. We're going to survive.
At this home in Waianae, an emu for the turkey proved to be just what a household without electricity needs.
We don't have electricity, so we do this Hawaiian style, kaloa.
While his family waited on the turkey, the rest of the feast was being prepared.
It's coming around. Yeah, it's coming good.
The lack of electricity hurt you at all?
Well, we have to improvise. So this is what we're doing now, cooking over this charcoal and, utilizing the emo.
We're having sweet sour spare ribs, shoyu chicken. We're having kalua turkey and also steamed beef.
At another Waianae home, a generous serving of spaghetti was backed by Kiawe cooked turkey.
Kiawe chocolate. So we like the aroma of the kiawe. It tastes good.
It take you a lot longer to cook this turkey?
No,
over
about 4 hours. 4 hours.
How's it taste?
Oh, it tastes good. Different than than roast. It tastes better than the roast.
Not everyone was enjoying a feast. The extensive hurricane damage was still creating havoc. Electric and telephone crews were out in force. Their presence along Farrington Highway, plus a scramble by some residents heading for relatives' homes in Honolulu for turkey dinner, created massive traffic jams.
What you doing for Thanksgiving today?
I'm cleaning up my yard.
Nothing. We have no electricity.
We're going to Hickam Air Force Base, where it's already cooked.
Yeah, make a pig out of myself.
Okay. Others spent Thanksgiving in the ocean, which only 2 days ago threatened their lives and destroyed many of their homes. Amidst the destruction, many just spent a quiet day at home with loved ones and best friends. On the leeward coast, it was not just a day for giving thanks, it was also a day for celebrating life.
On Kauai, the miracle of Thanksgiving brought relief. There had been no deaths or serious injuries. One of the hardest hit areas is Kekaha. The hurricane tore off roofs and left many buildings in shambles. People came home to what little is left, but they say it could have been worse.
My things are all in a house intact, but everything had fallen over and just full of mud and water. So I think everything is just about ruined. I don't think we can salvage much. But then at least we're living, so we're, can't complain. Everybody else is in the same position, and we all have to make the best of it.
Wiped out completely, everything. There's nothing, you can see there's nothing in the house at all.
Used to be a wall over here?
This used to be a dining area over here. The parlor was inside of here, the kitchen, and the 2 bedrooms, and there's nothing left. Nothing at all left.
Nobody hurt them?
Nobody hurt, thank God. Thank God, that's it.
With the roofs caved in, residents in this tiny plantation village still managed to work up a Thanksgiving meal. And despite destruction all around them, the people here want their family and friends to know that they are all right.
Working on the holiday is never fun, but it's worse for some than for others. The employees at Foodland were told yesterday they'd have to work today. Foodland, MJ's, Holiday Mart, and several other supermarkets opened specially to serve people whose electricity is out, whose food spoiled, or have simply been too busy to get their shopping done. From the looks of things in the parking lot and in the aisles, it was a good idea. For those without electricity, Hawaiian Tuna Packers was selling ice. Again, it would appear this service was badly needed. Down at the docks, the stevedores were busy all day, loading the first barge to Kauai since the storm. Loaded with telephone poles, trucks, and other equipment, the barge will be a welcome sight to Garden Islanders.
What else are they sending over there for the emergency?
We've got, foodstuffs, of course, beer, rice, the basics.
But the real Iron Men of this story are the utility crews. They've been working around the clock trying to restore electricity and phone service. For them, Thanksgiving will just have to wait.
We had a couple hours to meet with the family, change of clothes, bath, and maybe an hour's rest.
No hope for a Thanksgiving dinner, huh?
Maybe tomorrow. We'll try sometime during the week.
You got any hope of getting home tonight to see your family for Thanksgiving?
No way, I don't think so. Not tonight, maybe tomorrow, 2 days from now.
And Kauai. Visible and costly disaster. Latest estimates are that it will cost more than $200 million before we're back to normal. On Kauai, 1 in every 8 houses was demolished or badly damaged. On Oahu, more than 400 homes suffered the same fate. But there's scarcely a single home on either island that made it through the hurricane with utilities intact. At the height of the storm, there were no homes with electricity on Kauai, and only 6% of those on Oahu had power. But right from the start, Hawaiian Electric spokesman insisted their systems were adequate.
We feel that it's been designed and built with a lot of redundancy, but this basically was a 100-year storm that we've just encountered. If this were a mainland community, we would be seeing power being bulked in from neighboring utilities. That's the big difference between Hawaii and the mainland. That explains a lot of things about this particular electric utility.
But on this 12th day after Eva, some people are still living without power.
How do you manage to heat water?
No. We go to my son's house, take a bath.
We really got good friends that are, just offering us dinners, and, we go out there and take a bath and everything.
Lesson number 1, when the power's off, it helps to have family and friends who live in areas with electric power. Roughing it at home can be difficult.
We use bag ice and cook on the hibachi.
What about laundry?
We haven't done any.
Or roughing it at home can be an adventure if you have the proper equipment.
Same thing as you going out and camping, except you're camping in your own home. Instead of letting the food go to waste, we have the generator going for the freezer. The ice is for the ice box, and the propane stove is for cooking.
We've got a fireplace in this house. It had never been used in the 42 years this house has stood here until this week. And we finally salvaged parts of an old refrigerator and built a small grill in it, and we've been cooking in the fireplace.
It helps if you can learn new ways to entertain yourself until the power is restored.
We're getting real good at canasta in candlelight.
There are about 150 telephone poles down on Kauai. Right now, the electric company is working with the phone company just to clear roads so that crews can get in to put up new poles. About 50% of the people who live on Kauai are having problems with their phones. Some people have no service, others have limited capabilities.
For calling between areas of the island, it's almost impossible. We have every office working except Hanapepe right now. Hanapepe has no generator, but the other offices are working but cannot be connected to each other because the facilities in between have been damaged.
Here on Oahu, about 115 poles are down. People who live in Makaha and Waianae cannot make calls to other areas on Oahu. The phone company has put 2 emergency phones in those areas, one at the Makaha Resort and the other at the Waianae Fire Station. Other than the leeward coast, service on Oahu has been restored, but because some cables are out, there may be more busy signals than usual. The biggest problem on Oahu is the lack of electricity.
Most of our switching centers right now are on standby power. They don't have commercial power. They're operating either on a battery or generator. And the calling volumes affect the capacity of that standby power.
And that wasn't all. The Board of Water Supply didn't have electricity either, so it couldn't pump water in parts of the island. And for a while, water wagons provided the only fresh water in some areas. But the utility problems could be approached immediately. The solution to others, like business, would take longer.
There are few tourists left on Kauai. Hurricane Eva has virtually destroyed the island's biggest business.
About 800 to 1,000 hotel employees are out of work right now.
Eva gutted hotels along the south and north shores, taking out 60% of the hotel rooms on the island. Every hotel suffered some damage. GU estimates dollar losses will be in the hundreds of millions, with the biggest problem, the loss of future visitors.
It's going to affect us quite a bit, not only because our facilities are down, but because of the publicity that we've had regarding, the area being a disaster area.
Sugar is the other major industry here on Kauai, and it too has been hit hard by the hurricane. The leaves have been shredded off by the high winds. Stalks have been broken off. Growers say they anticipate losses in the millions.
We haven't quantified the damage, although it is substantial both to the crop and to physical structures.
Retailing was supposed to be a bright spot in Kauai's economy, but merchants are counting up losses, not profits.
We've had loss of revenues, tremendous loss of revenues, because of course this is our busiest season. We've been closed now for 5.5 days. Today's our first day opening since the storm. We've missed the 2 busiest days right after Thanksgiving.
Few shoppers were actually buying. They seem to reflect the mood of Kauai residents who are thankful they survived and are buying today's necessities, not tomorrow's holiday wishes.
Kauai wasn't the only island worried about tourism. The Hawaii Visitors Bureau immediately planned a new mainland advertising blitz to convince tourists not to be concerned. And the governor went on national television.
What about tourists, Governor? Some people, tourists already there, others maybe with bags packed hoping to come down. Can you advise them now to come on, they'll be fine, or would you rather people stayed home for a while? And that's a tough question to ask when tourism is your #1 industry.
Well, I would advise them to come. Now, the island of Kauai, we have 5,000 rooms there, and half of those rooms have been closed. But there are some 55,000 other rooms in our hotels on the island of Oahu, where Waikiki is located, the island of Hawaii and Maui. We have some 55,000 rooms, and all of these rooms are 100% open. And so the facilities are there for people to enjoy, and I would advise them to come. The weather is very nice. It's 75 degrees, and we have full moon tonight.
Enter Time Supermarket's Super Holiday Giveaway for a chance to drive away in a brand new Cutter Ford EXP or Cutter Dodge Colt. Times is also giving away 300 delicious Farmer John hams. Have your best holidays with Times and save on the following specials. MD Bath Tissue 99 cents or 59 cents with Price Cutter card. Pepsi Soda $6 for $1.79 or with Price Cutter $1.39. Del Monte Vegetables with no salt 59 cents. We try harder to save you money and give you more.
Jack Klugman is Quincy, searching for the truth even when it hurts.
What's the matter? What is it?
It's different when it happens to people you know.
I know, Sam. Honest, I do.
Humbled by his own fallibility.
The responsibility is too awesome.
Because you're human, that's all.
But driven by a sense of justice.
Quincy, I can't believe this.
You're lucky you caught me on a good day.
And everybody loves him.
That's terrific.
Quincy.
Wednesday at 9.
Just watch us now. Just watch us fill your days and nights with laughter and with pure delight. We'll take you places where you'd really want to go. Watch us as we pack the screen with action like you've never seen. News and information that you need to know. We're TV2. Just watch us. Hawaii. You'll love us. TV2. Just watch us now. For latest news, watch us now. Greatest sports, watch us now. Movies, specials, day or night, just watch us now. We're TV2. Just watch us. Hawaii. You'll love us. TV2. Just watch us now. We're TV2. Just watch us. Hawaii. You'll love us. TV2. Just watch us now.
It's pretty tough to try to list all the help in the islands these past 12 days, from ham radio operators who single-handedly kept communications going during the darkest hours of the hurricane.
We have high winds here, probably gusting to 60 plus.
To the United States Navy, which offered a nuclear submarine to provide power to the folks on Kauai until their brutalized electric lines could be repaired. This has been a time of true aloha, even from the federal government.
As I was driving up, I got the telephone contact being made on the car informing me that the president had signed the presidential declaration of a national disaster here in our state. What this will mean is that it will trigger a lot of the federal programs that will make monies available, and we have a federal team that is in the state as of yesterday, making a determination of the nature and extent of the damage, trying to get a total inventory of the damages.
At the Koloa Disaster Center, close to some of Kauai's worst devastation, opening brought evidence of just how badly the services are needed. There was the fisherman without a boat, the retired couple without a home, the waiter without a job.
I was a waiter in the restaurant at the point, the terrace.
And that job's gone?
Oh, well, the terrace is filled with about 2 feet of rubble and dirt, sand and boulders.
The homeowner without insurance.
At the time I applied for it, the building was considered too old, of no value to be insured. That's why there's no insurance.
Volunteers from a mainland church group even helped with the kids at the centers. 125 federal disaster workers are in Hawaii to help with recovery efforts. They say anyone whose storm losses aren't fully covered by insurance should visit a disaster center.
And the federal disaster centers are still going strong, open extra hours to meet the needs of Eva's victims.
Lost everything. Living room, bedroom, and everything was a total wreck to the nitty-gritties, like as clothes and food and everything. We moved in there 2 weeks and we got wiped out.
Iseri, his wife, and baby boy had just moved to the Makaha Surfside condominium. They got out before Eva struck. They're staying with relatives now. Finding a place to live is difficult.
Very difficult. Right now, there's so much people who's out of homes and whatnot, and they're all looking through the papers like everybody else, and so that's what makes it really hard, yeah. So we're still looking, and it's really tough when you have a little baby like this.
There have been so many people needing help. The Waianae Disaster Assistance Center, which was supposed to close at 6 last night, stayed open until 11. And when it reopened this morning, 250 people were already waiting. The lucky ones still have homes.
My house did not suffer that much. I just lost a few louvers and a screen. But clothing-wise, yeah, I lost quite a bit of clothing.
Along